Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for December 28th, 2013. We're coming to the end of 2013, and it looks like 2014 will start rather stormy and rather cold. But for now, we're going to be dealing with a rainstorm by tomorrow. Temperatures currently range from the mid to upper 30s over the interior, lower to mid 40s along the coast. Temperatures will warm up very nicely into the mid to upper 40s throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. A few locations could actually break 50 degrees here as this warm air surges out ahead of our next area of low pressure. I am a little bit concerned though that the interior got pretty cold and we have pretty low dew points out here, and that may be a bit of a concern for the start of rainfall tomorrow afternoon with some pockets of brief freezing rain. When we take a look at the latest radar, you can see here that really not much going on around the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas, but look to your southwest. There is a great deal of rain developing along the Gulf Coast and even more moisture where this came from, and all of this rain is going to be lifting to the northeast and moving through the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas by tomorrow afternoon and continuing on into Monday morning. Now, when we take a look at the water vapor satellite picture, this is not a mistake. There is actually high pressure pretty much dominating much of the southeast. This whole rain event, for now, is being driven by a mid-level disturbance right here in the subtropical jet stream. And it's pulling in a great deal of moisture from the Gulf Coast, from the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf Coast and shooting that right up the East Coast. And we have a weak surface trough as a reflection of that lifting starting to develop in the central Gulf Coast. Now will eventually become our low pressure system that will lift up to the mid-Atlantic coast and eventually off the New Jersey coast by tomorrow night. This high pressure system will continue to shift to the east, leading to southwesterly winds and a warming air mass overall, thus reducing any potential whatsoever of snow with this low pressure system to near zero. So here is the latest model guidance with this storm. Again, we warm up today. Now tonight we get a bit chilly. And as you can see, we have pockets of below freezing air showing up here for tomorrow morning. And the concern here is as this rain is lifting north and east, that we could get some pockets of freezing rain in northwestern New Jersey, the Hudson River Valley, northeastern Pennsylvania. Very brief periods of freezing rain. Very brief. This is not a major icing event. But I want to bring this up just so you're not caught off guard. So tomorrow afternoon and evening, be prepared for a few pockets of freezing rain. Otherwise, very heavy rain will lift up into the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. I mean, look at this rainfall rates. I mean, this is impressive. Half an inch to an inch of rain in an hour in these locations. That's in a 3-hour period. That's very impressive here. So if you are in Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York City Metro, expect very heavy rainfall tomorrow evening, and that's going to continue on into the early morning hours on Monday morning, and then clear out just in time for the rush hour tomorrow for Monday morning, with temperatures falling through the 40s and into the 30s. And you can see the rainfall amounts here ranging anywhere from, let's say, about half an inch to an inch of rain over much of eastern Pennsylvania, an inch of rain to as much as 2 inches of rain over much of the Philadelphia metropolitan area, New Jersey, New York City Metro, and also portions of southern Connecticut. Northern Connecticut, as you move towards the interior, the heaviest rainfall will be focused away from your location, thus less rain. Once this storm exits, Monday is going to be, well, rather interesting because you have your high temperature around midnight, and then temperatures are just going to fall throughout the day on Monday through the 40s into the 30s, and eventually by the evening hours on Monday, you're going to have temperatures in the mid-20s to lower 30s throughout the entire Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Then what happens? Well, now we have something interesting brewing around January 3rd. This is the water vapor satellite picture expanded out to show all of North America. Now, obviously, we have our storm brewing over here in the Gulf of Mexico. But I want you to focus on two things here. One, very powerful low pressure system lifting up into the northern Atlantic, kickstarting our pattern evolution to a negative Arctic oscillation and neutral to slightly negative North Atlantic oscillation. That's important. There's a big misnomer out there in the weather world that you need a strong negative North Atlantic oscillation for a winter storm. That couldn't farther be from the truth. If you have a strong negative North Atlantic oscillation, or basically a huge upper level low right around the Canadian Maritimes, that suppresses the storm track well to the south. You want a neutral, weak, negative North Atlantic oscillation, with basically a weak upper level low right around here. And the reason why is because it's strong enough to slow down the pattern, lock in the cold air, but not too strong to suppress the pattern and allow storms to lift up along the east coast. So basically, you want just right. And in fact, most storms, according to Costa Mussolini from the Northeast Snowstorms book, which I would suggest anyone interested in weather to pick this book up, basically suggests that most storms develop when the North Atlantic oscillation is in a changing state from positive to negative or negative to positive. So we're starting to see that here in the Northern Atlantic. The next feature I want you to keep an eye on is this right here. We have another active subtropical disturbance out here in the Pacific, and the sampling or data collection of these disturbances is, well, rather poor. Why? Well, no one actually lives out in the middle of the Pacific. So you really don't have the best data collection possible. Now, it's improved with satellite data, of course, but as you can see, this is one robust disturbance. And when you look at it on the model guidance, it doesn't look anywhere near as impressive. So my point here is that these disturbances tend to have more moisture, more energy than forecasted by the model guidance, and quite frankly, tend to crush these disturbances more than what they should be given credence to. So it's no wonder why I've been saying for the past couple of weeks now, watch this pattern, and why I've been a bit uneasy during this forecast period for the start of the new year, because there's a lot of disturbance out here in the Pacific, an active subtropical jet stream, a polar vortex crashing towards the south. We're seeing a flip towards a negative Arctic oscillation. These are all warning signs, and why you shouldn't just trust what you see in the operational model guidance, and why you really shouldn't put any significant stock in any one model guidance. Now, we're using the European model guidance here in this case, but again, I want to stress there's a lot of volatility here, and we're going to have to keep an eye on this storm. So when we take a look at the pattern, you see right now for this afternoon, I mean, you could see the disturbance out there in the Pacific is a lot more impressive than this little weak trough. So that factor needs to be considered when you're moving forward. Now here's our polar vortex dropping south. Now, once this storm leaves, this rainstorm leaves, we get very cold. We'll be lucky to break 30 degrees for a high as we start to move into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's pretty chilly. I think everyone would agree with that. By the way, that means higher snow ratios as well. So when you see an inch of QPF or liquid precipitation, it's not 1 to 10, it's more like 1 to 15 or 1 to 20. So that factor has to be considered as well. So here we are by Thursday evening. We have a very strong disturbance here. Hey, look, we have pretty close to a 50-50 upper level low here, 50 north, 50 west. We almost have it to where we want it to be as far as blocking for a weak negative North Atlantic oscillation. Very weak. We have some building heights here, not all that impressive, but still, it's definitely present. And we see the evolution of our negative Arctic oscillation starting to take hold. Now, by Thursday evening, we have an area low pressure off of the mid-Atlantic coast. We clearly have a very strong high pressure system off of the, not off of, but over the Great Lakes. So we have plenty of cold air in place. That's definitely true. So the question is, does this trough go negative? How intense is this subtropical disturbance that dives towards the Gulf of Mexico and lifts northeast? And the intensity of that trough and how it interacts with this blocking over here is going to have a major influence on the potential for a significant snowfall, at the very least right now, for the southern mid-Atlantic. We're talking about North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, southern New Jersey. Could see several inches of snow out of this. But if this storm is a little bit more north and west, then you're talking about heavy snow potential for New York City, New Jersey, and Philadelphia as well. I don't think this is a New England storm, just the way that the whole pattern is setting up. But I do think that this storm bears watching for basically anyone from the shores of Connecticut on south through Virginia. The jackpot area, I would say right now, for a definite snowfall, looks to be Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware, and southern New Jersey. That definitely looks reasonable. If this storm shifts a little bit further north, then we're also going to be putting New York City into play as well, along with much of Philadelphia. I think your far interior locations, like around the Poconos, misses out on this event right now because the whole pattern screams for coastal influence and coastal focus with this storm, with the potential for very heavy precipitation. Then once the storm leaves, oh boy, here comes our polar vortex dropping south, and it's been advertised big time by the GFS. And I've been telling people for a while, all the way back to October, this is going to happen. You're going to see high latitude blocking, stratospheric warming starting to take effect. The whole pattern starts to shift and evolve. And by the time we get to the beginning of the new year, we see a polar vortex dropping south. You might have a little brief warm-up ahead of another Arctic cold front, but that's just the way that the weather pattern works. That's the way the atmosphere works. You don't just stay cold in another Arctic cold front. You warm up a little bit, and then you get knocked back down. And it looks like that's exactly what's going to happen as this pattern evolves. And we start to get this ridge really start to lock in over Greenland, another ridge over Alaska, and here comes our polar vortex dropping south. So a lot of interesting weather underway, and I'll be keeping an eye on it. We have a heavy rainstorm coming up for tomorrow, and then potentially a significant winter storm on the way for the start of the new year. That is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Just want to apologize for the cough. It's annoying, but you got to live with it. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn. Have a wonderful day, and stay safe out there.